If your painting ever starts to feel chaotic and too busy, you're not alone. I'm in that exact place with these two large paintings at the moment, and I'll show you how I begin to make space and move forward. Hi there, I'm Janine. I'm an artist and I share my creative journey on this channel. In today's video, I'm working on two large abstract paintings that have hit that messy stage. Everything is starting to feel a bit too busy and I'm not 100% sure what they need yet. I'm going to talk you through my process as I try and create more space, simplify certain areas, and make decisions that bring the work closer to feeling finished without losing all of that energy that I've already built in the previous layers. Whether you're feeling stuck in the middle of your own painting or just curious how I approach these decisions, I hope this gives you something useful to take into your own studio. The first thing I want to do on these is to make this a lot lighter. I think it's overall a bit too dark for what I want, it to be. So I'm using this really light green color that I pre-mixed, and I've got a little bit of fluid medium on my brush already, just to make it a little bit more liquid, spread a little bit better. I'm just going to go over a lot of this. And then this is a different light color, it's more of a pink. I'm just adding a bit of color variation with this other color. And I think a lot of the bits here are too dark. So I'm going over a lot of these dark areas. Here I'm just going over with a transparent layer. So I still get a little bit of that color, it's just much lighter now. I do like some of this purple color here. Just thinking if I should add some more in another place. But before I do, I'm going to take a palette knife and scratch through some of this wet paint. Just to add a little bit more interest. Just adding some lines, maybe even scraping away a larger area. And there's also little bits of orange here. I think I want to add some of that maybe down here. So I have this pre-mixed orangey yellow, and I might even add a bit of red into that or on top. And I'll add a bit of this down here where the red is much more pinky, and I could add a little bit down here. Yeah, I think I want to add some more purple up here, maybe where the blue is, and then going into here. I do have another premixed color, which is this mauvey color that I quite like, which is lighter than what's on here, but I might start with that and then I can always go darker. I kind of wanted to blend into this area because there's really nice subtle color shifts happening here already. It's a bit funny, this light spot. I think I want to paint over this light and continue that here. Connect those two bits of lilac or mauve, whatever you want to call this. It's not really lilac. And I'm also painting over this bit of blue. I feel now this area already looks much more cohesive. Now I also want to add a little bit up here into this light area, just to make it not stand out as much, because this light here is right next to quite a dark purple. So if I just tone that light down a little bit, it'll be a bit less noticeable. Now I do like what's starting to happen here. I really don't like this bit here. So you definitely got to work on that. Maybe if I add a bit more of this lilac in here and then get my scraping tool, just this silicone catalyst wedge. I really like working with that. Scrape over some of these light areas. So blend in with the light colour I've just added, because that's still a bit wet. I really don't like these edges here. Just blending them a little bit. Could do that in some bits of this light yellow or something like it. I think these bits in the middle are a bit too hectic. So I think if I add some more light here, it will be less noticeable. No, that did not work. At least not the way I did it. I'm just stepping back and checking where there are dark bits that feel a bit too distracting, and then just adding some more light colour over them. And I will need to go in with a bigger brush at some point, because now I'm just playing with a tiny brush. But I do find that quite fun sometimes. Yeah, it's all very, very bitty now. I do need to go in with a larger brush or something like that. I'm still in the stage of building more texture. I just want a bit more variety in my texture at the moment, because it was all looking quite samey. I think I want to add some more line work with this mauvey colour and connect some of these areas. A bit like I started here already with the lines, but they're not really leading anywhere. So maybe I can have them connect some of the areas. I like that. Maybe a bit more here. Now I think this can come down a bit more. Yeah, I think it's more interesting, but it definitely needs a lot of work still. So let's move on to this one. I think I want to actually get rid of a lot of this here, this yellow area. So I'm starting with my light pink again and this larger brush. And just try not to think too much about it. Maybe also a bit of the green, this light green here. Because there's already green over there. I might have to scrape some of it back again. Now that I look at it, maybe I need some of this blue. And here I can also go through with that palette knife and create a few lines, scraping through that wet paint. And then there's a lot of colour going on. Maybe I'll add some yellow over this red so it's not as pinky. This is yellow oxide, by the way, so it's already a little bit more muted than standard yellow. Standard yellow? Well, your kind of primary yellows. I'm just adding a transparent layer so it will leave some of the colour underneath come through. I actually like a little bit of the red here, but then it turns sort of purple.
It's a new day, and I actually think that this has gotten so much way too busy. So I've mixed up a colour, kind of green, that's sort of similar to this green up here. And I want to cover most of the painting, which is always a little bit scary to do, but we'll just go for it without thinking too much. Don't think we've got much to lose here. Actually, I'm not sure I mixed enough of this colour, because when you cover a large surface, it actually gets used up pretty quickly.
If you like this video, consider subscribing.
And I'm still leaving little bits, so I'm not undoing all the work I've done before. But what I've done before just adds more depth. I am trying to get rid of a lot of the dark bits. So I think I'm going to leave that to dry and then go over with some other colours. Not over exactly the same area, but yeah, but in a large surface. This one here, I think I also want to cover a lot. Thinking maybe some kind of light version of this yellow-orange. So a bit like the pink, but more orange. And also maybe even not too light. So I'm just going to add some yellow into this light pink. Maybe a touch of brown. I just want this colour to be a little bit darker to the light pink. Maybe experiment with a bit more of a medium value, which is a bit more challenging to work with. Seems a bit too brown. No, don't like that. I'll just start adding some and then maybe mix as I'm going. This might be too dark now for what I want. And one thing I like is that this, now that it's a bit darker, isn't too harsh next to this yellow. I do like that yellow. I think I want to keep that. Now I'm just blending it a little bit over here where I had the really light area. I think I need to cover over this bit as well. I do like this area on its own, but I think it's not really working with the rest of the painting. So unfortunately, I can maybe leave a little bit of the yellow, but I think most of this green's got to go. That looks a little bit too light now. Maybe once it's dry, it'll look a bit darker. Might need to refine a little bit more in this corner, but I think I might add some of the red, maybe a bit more muted. But I do like some bits of bright red. I like how they're now dotted around the painting, and take your eye around, and here there's a little bit still left underneath where I covered, and that also helps draw your eye. So the red feels now much more intentional, whereas before it was competing with all the other colours. I might start doing that because this is quite dry. So I'm going to mix some of my cadmium red with a little bit of yellow and maybe a touch of blues, just so it's a little more muted. Can you see that here? So I've got cadmium red, yellow oxide and a bit of ultramarine blue. So I'm using mainly red. Actually, I think I want more yellow. I want it to be a bit more orange, this bit. A touch of the blue. Just to tone it down a bit. And we'll see what that looks like on the painting. It's more brown, maybe a bit more red then. I want it to be fairly transparent. And then maybe go a bit more muted into here. And I want to blend that into this area. So I'm taking some medium, just transparent acrylic medium. If I add that up here above where I want to blend, And then I'll slowly take this down into the paint here that's still wet. I'm quite liking this vertical texture. Let me just step back to see if I actually like it with the overall painting or if I just like this effect on its own. I do quite like it. It sort of references some of these vertical bits here. So I might add it in some other places. A bit more vertical texture. Just painting over some of this red here that I covered with some texture when I painted over that beige, just to make it stand out a little bit more again. Same here. And then it's got to dry so I can actually see what the colors look like, how dark this light area is gone. And this is probably still wet. Yeah, still a bit wet. I want to introduce a little bit more of this kind of purple here. I'm wondering whether, because I already have a lot here, maybe I should put some over here, like a large shape. So probably mix up something that's kind of similar. It's kind of a plum color. Aubergine-y. Yeah, I think it's going to mix a bit. This that's still wet. I'm impatient. I'll add a little bit of medium just to make it a touch more transparent and to make it more fluid because it's fluid medium. So it'll spread a little bit better. Should have gotten a bigger brush for this. I think after this purple, I might add some of the orange. Yeah, I think I'll need to leave this to dry because it's just mixing in with the green right now. I want to make some of this a little bit more solid as well. So it's a bit dry now. I think I've actually gone too far on the bottom. I didn't want to go this far, but hey ho, we can paint over that. And I'm going to leave that to dry as well. And then I want to add some of this orangey colour. But I'm just wondering if I should already put some of this green colour again over here. I've used it all. Let's see if I can scrape up some last little bits. This System 3 acrylic ink by Rowney, Burnt Sienna, is actually pretty close to the colour that I want to add here. And it's quite opaque, so I'm going to try that. If it looks rubbish, I'll paint over it. Just going to add some to a little container here so I can get my big brush in. Don't usually like this one, but I think it might work here. We'll see. I might hate it anyway. I want this to go a bit like a V shape up here. Not exactly like that, but I might add some straight to the canvas and try and catch it. And now again I'm finding little bits that I like this where the purple is a bit more transparent. I quite like that. And I'm also trying to add some more transparent areas of this new colour. And I also want to connect this shape now to my other areas. I don't want it to be just here. So once again, there's a lot going on and I might have to let that dry and then get back to it. This one now feels really nice and calm, and originally I thought maybe I'll add some more line work on top of this, maybe some soft pastel that's then been washed out. I'm not sure yet. I might leave it for a little bit and think about that, because I do quite like how calm this one's now.
What I want you to take away from today's session is sometimes the best way forward is to remove something, even if you liked it, to make room for what's possible. Creating space simply means giving certain areas more room to breathe, and you don't have to know exactly where it's going. Staying curious is enough to keep the painting moving. I actually made a free resource for you when you're stuck in your painting process with my favorite tools and techniques to get you going again. You can download my Get Unstuck toolkit for free via the link in the description box. And if you want to see how these 2 canvases started, I've linked the live sessions where I worked on these below. Thanks and bye bye.